Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Gamertag Radio.
I'm Natalie Pohorsky, lead producer at Raven Software, focus on the campaign.
Awesome.
And I am Miles Leslie, associate creative director at Treyarch.
Awesome. Well, I gotta say, I love the presentation. A lot of information there. But first thing first, the one thing that really stood out to me was the campaign. Previously, when I played the game, I felt like I was missing out because everybody was like leveling up and everything, right, while playing the campaign. But now it feels like I could play the campaign and still level up my character and so on. So what made you guys make that decision of adding that into the campaign for the first time now?
Yeah, I love that you picked up on that because that's been a big one for us is we always want to reward players for everywhere they play. And we saw that there was a segment of players that had that hesitancy of like, I want to, but I don't want to feel left out, you know? And so the vision of Black Ops 7 was to make a connected social game. And it just made sense. It's one of those things you say out loud and you're like, of course, right? Like we have to do that. And so the team was passionate about it and we made it happen where it's like all parts of the game you're going to get rewarded. So you never felt left out, but you also have incentive, like we talked about the camos in each one. The flip side of that is, let's say you're not a story player and I am, you now might have an incentive to come try the story for the first time. So it's really dual where it's like non-story players come play the story, story players can experience it, but also get a benefit of rewarded time and global progression to then take that into multiplayer or zombies or endgame or any of the other things we've got.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Now, mind bending. I just love the vibe because I'm really into like horror and suspense and that type of. That really stood out to me too. So what made you guys also decide to add that in the game? Because I've never seen that before in Call of Duty. So.
Yeah, well, so we've been developing this one alongside Black Ops 6, and you did start seeing some of those elements in the Black Ops 6 campaign as well. But I think the cool part about Black Ops 7 is we've introduced this toxin that really plays on their fears, sends them to places where, maybe these are deep, dark parts of their memories. And so there's a lot of room to play there, and it takes us, all over the place. So we talk about all these different like locales, and that includes places within like Mason's psyche. So yeah, there's just I think it makes sense for the story that we're telling, which is cool. And then yes, as also like a horror suspense fan, any opportunity for something like this, I'm excited about. So yeah, and again, we talk about co-op experience. Imagine getting to explore that with friends.
Yeah. And just to add on top of it, like that's always been in the Black Ops DNA. And I think we always have permission to do that because we established that from World at War, right? The brutality of that through BO1, BO2 is it's in our DNA to push the bounds, but also play with it. And I think for us, that was really exciting is to give you more oh shit moments. But then it just made sense. We were like, of course they would do that,
Let's talk about endgame. I have a lot of questions. I know there's much you can't say.
We'll talk about as much as we can.
But I noticed this 1 to 32 players. So is this like everybody's working together? Your squad is doing your own thing? Or is it like a raid or that type of thing?
Good question. So it's 32 players, but it's squads of 4. So it's still a social co-op experience, basically. It's PvE. There's no PvP. And so that is really, it's the culmination of the campaign, right? So throughout the campaign, you're learning the story, you're learning the characters, you're going to these crazy places, experiencing these moments, but you're also using really interesting gameplay mechanics, right? New abilities. And really the culmination, the final proving ground in Endgame is, hey, all that cool stuff that you got to use in each of the missions, now you get to use all of it, right? And you get to choose your loadout, you get to go in. And for us, it was really how do we flip the script on a campaign? Like on top of the co-op campaign, right, is at the end is to your point of I want to be rewarded. Endgame's even more rewarding is there's story in it, right? But also there's a huge gameplay. It flips it on its head, and it's about surviving, right? We want you to go in with your loadout and survive as long as possible and get out with some really chunky goodies.
So there is a story in Endgame. So it's similar kind of like zombies, that type of experience, kind of like that?
I think it's a good analogy for us, and I think I hearken it too, that's in our DNA, right? Like Outbreak, right? And MWZ and how we tell stories and it's more social experience. We have a lot of experience with zombies. We absolutely leaned on that, and working with our partners is how to get that experience. Endgame taps into that and that legacy and sort of that experience as well.
Yeah, it's crazy good. I was talking to my co-host, shout out to Paris. I was like, man, what else new they could add in this? But I was very surprised the amount of information you guys had. Like, I think this was like the longest. I've been to a lot of presentations of Call of Duty. this was by far the longest one I've
Yeah,
seen.
they were yelling at us. They're like, "You gotta be faster." We're like, "There's too much."
Yeah, but it's exciting though seeing that because a lot of people want to see something new, and I'm glad that you guys are always adding something new every time.
I
There's something.
appreciate that you noticed that because for us, while we developed the games at the same time, we always had a vision that Black Ops 7 would be more visual, and we wanted to make sure campaigns already new, but we're like, not enough, right? We had to do more, and so we pushed that as well, and then zombies bigger and bolder, and multiplayer and skirmish, and the list just goes on and on, you know?
Yeah. For you, for the campaign, was there anything that inspired you guys? Like, I think we should add this into this campaign. Was it like any movies, any maybe games or anything like that?
I mean, the cool thing about Black Ops is there's so much history and lore there that we built. And so the exciting part to me, again, is these characters. We have the returning characters where there's still so much story to be told. So we were very intentional about David Mason in particular. We always knew that we wanted to come back to him in the series. So now we get a chance to dig into what that looks like for him. And then also some of these characters we've established in Black Ops 6, like what has changed from the 90s to 2035. So yeah, I think from a storytelling perspective, that's absolutely, it's the opportunity to tell a character-driven story.
Well, you could tell us about the guild.
Yeah, well, you met the guild, a form of it, back on Black Ops 6. And so now we're seeing this new just evolution, you could call it.
New evolution. Okay, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. Okay, all right.
yeah. Is there more we want to say on that now?
Maybe a little bit. You know, I think the fun thing for us, and I think you're picking up on it, is like this is where we've seeded some things in BO6 because we were developing it together, and it's really fun. Is like we established Avalon, we established some of the key players, and now to see, to Natalie's point, the evolution of that is going to have some payoff. Is what are the guild's motives, and how are they clashing with David and this threat of Raul Menendez, and how is technology, which it taps into the zeitgeist of today, is like how is technology surrounding us and being used. It's got some really cool moments of what the guild is trying to do, and you might agree and disagree, but it's like that's also the world we live in, which is pretty interesting as well.
Now, for players that just like to play solo, how's that?
We got you.
Yeah.
So for them that they don't want to play co-op, they don't want to.
You don't have to.
So that's something that the experience is not going to change at all.
Not
They're still
at all.
going to feel the
Yeah.
same with like others.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great question, and we wanted to make sure from day one that if you don't want to, it's okay. You can play solo. You're going to get the best experience that you've got, bombastic story, and the difficulty will change for you so it doesn't feel overwhelming so that you have to play co-op as well.
Awesome. Yeah. The reason I mentioned that because I know in the presentation was a lot of co-op.
Yeah,
co-op. So
totally.
like, what about those that play single player?
We got you. Yeah.
That's in our DNA.
It is, yes.
Yeah. So what else? I mean, there was a lot, but what else that stood out to you? Work on this project with the team that knew they were like, okay, this is really good. Adding this to the game for multiplayer, zombies, or anything like that.
Yeah, I think for me, going to 2035 and really, like, I've worked on every single Black Ops World at War, and it was really interesting to Natalie's point to like come back to characters and moments, but also like the evolution of some gameplay content, right? Like Black Ops 2, we had the big walking dog. It was called the Claw. And now it's like 10 years later, the evolution of that is the dog. And so you get to see the transformation of technology. I love when we connect to our own games and like push the bounds of the mechanics and the gameplay. Black Ops 7 has a lot of that in the new setting of the locales, technology, the gadgets, and the characters. There's so much there that it's fun how it's spread across the game and you get to experience it in different ways.
Yeah, I know in multiplayer skirmish, that's 20v20.
20v20.
So this is the first time we get to see something like this for multiplayer, 40 players. Why you guys decided to add this new mode
it's a
in
good
there,
question.
too? And if for those that don't know, what you could tell us about.
Yeah, totally. And for us, it goes to, I think we've always pushed how do we, and this goes to the campaign, but also the solo, to your point, is how do we make sure the widest amount of people feel like they have an opportunity to play the game? And that was one avenue where we saw a lot of players wanted to have big mode sort of combat, and we wanted to bring that to it. And the other thing was learning from also the campaign and endgame is there's so many cool abilities and weapons and all these things is how do you get that in multiplayer without breaking multiplayer core 6v6? Skirmish lets it, like you can grapple, you can wingsuit, right? Some of the abilities are going to be in there. It just made sense that we needed a bigger, sort of game mode and combat for that. So you can experience those things without breaking the core MP.
I just realized I didn't ask this question. So, for example, let's say I'm playing with my friends. I stop playing for a couple of days. They're already ahead in campaign, right? So I go back. how the save progress, how that's going to work in the game for those that, let's say, they probably miss a couple days without playing with their friends. Is that something where it depends on the host of the game, or
Yeah,
what?
it's based on the host's progress, and so you can go in and pick up from where you saved on the mission. You also, if you want, you can get match made with other players on the same mission, right? Or not, if you want to play solo or only with your friends. And then if your friend is further along, you can party with them. You'll spoil yourself. Don't do it. But you can.
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. But you can jump ahead in that way if you wanted and kind of join them in that co-op experience. And that again goes to is we never wanted to restrict players, right? Like we play games too, and it's kind of shitty when you can't play with your friends. It should be a choice you make that you do or do not want to.
Now, the 4 characters in campaign, I know they're very different. They play different or kind of similar. Is it like classes like that or no?
Oh, no. Yeah.
No.
No classes.
No classes. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but they do have very unique personalities,
Yeah.
and that was key to the story, is that each of them is representing really themselves and returning characters, but new characters, and each of them brings something different to the team. And then we experience that through the story as well in some really fun ways.
Awesome. And you want to say anything? Or?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you were going to say something. That's why.
Oh, no. I mean, it's the same thing where it's like each one is chosen with a purpose and they each have these previous experiences. So not necessarily in abilities, but also in their abilities to handle certain situations. We talk a lot about their team dynamic, which is really key too.
Which of the characters out of those 4 stood out to you the most? And why?
I love this question.
I know. Oh, it's so hard. Okay. Well, I love 50-50. Leilani, she's so badass. And like, it's hard to explain her energy. You see a little flavor of it, right? But like, she's trying to prove herself, but at the same time, she doesn't have to. She's badass. She's awesome. And so she's sort of like, the proof is in the pudding a little bit with her. But I'm always partial to Harper's personality is just so good. It's so funny. He's so tough, but again, we get to see some different sides of these returning characters too. So,
and just to add, like, it's really hard. I love what we've done with each of the characters, like David Mason and Milo. And you heard it, like, bring such depth of like someone struggling with past decisions, and we get to explore that. And then Harper he deals with his trauma with humor, and you get to experience that, and it's fun. And Samuel's is more Zen-like direct approach. Combats with Harper, so they have some play, right? And then Leilani, it's hard to pick one. I think of them as a unit, and they work so well together.
Yeah, I just love the back and forth.
Yes,
with the clips that I've seen so far.
Yes,
really good.
And we push that as well, and that goes to the storytelling that Natalie's talking about. Is like that's the depth.
Yeah, and I know we're gonna get more information about Call of Duty in the future with zombies. That's September, and then Call of Duty next. That's more multiplayer.
Yep.
Now, my question is, and you don't have to answer this if you want, but it's been a very long time since we got to see a Call of Duty game on a Nintendo platform. Are we ever gonna see, let's say, for this game on like, let's say, on the Switch 2, or that's something where you guys are still working on?
Yeah,
the current platform.
Yeah, good question. It's not our wheelhouse, so we don't know. There's other smarter people that make those decisions. We just make the game, and I think for us, we would love it on all platforms, but we're just focused on making the game.
Okay, see, that's how you answer the question. My last question is to you: what has been like the most difficult part on working on this project? And the reason is,
I'm here too.
because it is hard. It is hard to adding new stuff in the game every time there's a new one. It gets harder and harder every year. So was that the hardest thing? Was coming with something totally different to add to this game? Was that the most difficult thing?
Well, I mean, as we've said, we've been developing Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7 together, and we wanted them to be their own unique experiences. But we had, great success with the campaign on Black Ops 6.
Love
and
the
we
campaign,
certainly
by the way.
wanted to, thank you. Yeah, we wanted to deliver on that again. And so that was a big thing in our minds that, as we'd been developing them together, and then Black Ops 6 comes out and it's like, all right, we got to knock this out of the park. And we always push the limits, and we're always going to do our best. But I think that was it for me, is just, again, continuing to build and innovate on something that was as big as Black Ops.
Yeah, I love that. And I think because I've been doing so long, it's fun. You said it's hard, but it's actually, that's the fun challenge to me, is like when you're done with a project or you're moving on to something else, is that fun moment of like, how can we flip the script? How can we outdo ourselves And we have amazing team and partners where we'll get in a room and it's like, it's easy to generate the ideas. The hard problem is, can we get it done? You know what I mean? So I think it's hard, but that's the fun and that's the fuel every game to make it feel different.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm very excited, like I said, about campaign, endgame especially, because I play.
Yeah, the campaign's awesome.
I play a lot of games like that, co-op with my wife and friends, you know, so like I can't wait to like, play this, you know. Yeah.
Awesome.
So congrats to you guys.
Thank you very much. I love it. Thanks for coming out.
No problem.